Boston.com, Gem Plumbing, and by Golf.
On Boston's home for sports, 98.5, the Sports Hub.
And a fly ball to center field. That will end it. McCarthy goes all the way back. It's over his head in the warning track. Roman Anthony's first career walk-off hit helps the Red Sox beat the Astros in Boston.
2034 at $30 million. There are all kinds of details in this one, and there are all kinds of popsicle headaches that you can have trying to figure out this Roman Anthony contract extension. But the major takeaway is this. The face of the Boston Red Sox moving forward is Roman Anthony. That's the story. That's the takeaway. And it's a good day. It's a good day to be a Boston Red Sox fan. Not sure if you would know it by listening to us for the last 8 hours on this, but today is a good day. It's Matt McCarthy in for Maz tonight. We've got room for you on the phone lines at 617-779-0985. If I could, Jimmy, I think I just want to recap where the Red Sox are at this point. Right now, they are the hottest team in baseball. Every night is a great night to watch the Red Sox as we speak. Agreed, right?
Yes.
Enjoying yourself?
You're right, Matt. You're right.
I'm enjoying myself. Thank you for supporting how right I am. They're the most exciting they've been in years, 2021 at least. And they just signed the face of their franchise to an 8-year contract extension. That does not mean that everything is perfect. Far from it. And I'm the first to point out the Red Sox flaws. And I'm the first to point out when they do things wrong, as they did last week with the trading deadline. Because that was a disaster. But I will give the Red Sox this year. They have found a way to move past their mistakes and move past their problems. They are balancing out the good with the bad. The highs and the lows this year have been high and low. And they've been something else. I mean, it's been a roller coaster ride. Don't get me wrong about that. But today's a good day. Today's a good day. If you want a reason to believe in the Red Sox moving forward, Roman Anthony's one of the number one reasons why. And now he is guaranteed to be here for the next 8 years. And I think we have to be fair on this. A lot of us, myself included, did not believe that the Red Sox would pay Roman Anthony. We thought that the reason they paid Campbell is because Campbell was the type who was going to take a below market value deal. He was not a first-round pick. He was not a sandwich pick like Anthony or Marcelo Meyer. He did not get the big signing bonus when he entered the organization, and as a result, he was more likely to take the upfront money, and that's the reason. And Anthony and Meyer were sent to Worcester to begin the year, and Campbell was up here is because they could pay Campbell, and they weren't going to pay Anthony because they knew they couldn't pay Anthony. I believed that. I was worried that the Red Sox were going to let him stick around for 6 years, maybe 5, depending on whether he wins Rookie of the Year, and then he was going to walk. So I was working under the assumption that they were not going to pay him, and they did. So in fairness, if I'm going to be fair to the Red Sox, we need to give them credit for that, and I will. We ripped this team for not paying Mookie Betts, and rightfully so, and we should never let them off the hook for that. But the story in this one is they have a new, young face of the franchise who projects to be one of the better players in baseball. We don't know that for sure, but he projects to be that way. There's a difference between Roman Anthony and Marcelo Meyer. There's a difference between Roman Anthony and Christian Campbell. And I believe in Campbell's ceiling, but Anthony has the highest ceiling of those three players. Anthony has true MVP caliber ceiling. They did not make the same mistake with Roman Anthony that they made with Mookie Betts. They paid him. They deserve credit for that. Now, listen, it takes two to tango, and maybe the Red Sox and maybe Mookie Betts didn't want to be here. Maybe he didn't. But the Red Sox were never close with Betts. They were always consistently $100 million away. With Roman Anthony, they got close enough to get a deal done. They deserve credit for that. And yes, we also do need to acknowledge that Anthony was willing to sign a deal that I think a lot of us thought he was not going to be willing to sign, that he was going to go year to year, he was going to bet on himself and wait to get to free agency and make, what is essentially the league minimum for the first 3 years. Then he gets to arbitration, he starts making the big bucks then, and then he makes the real big bucks when he hits free agency at the age of 27. He chose not to do that. He chose to take the money up front. And that's a part of this story, no doubt about it. But that is not a unique thing with Roman Anthony. Some people will say, hey, the Red Sox got lucky. Anthony took their team-friendly contract, and I'm using air quotes, really effective on the radio. Very effective, though, to our folks on YouTube. Hi, always good to have you. But he was willing to take the team-friendly deal, and he was willing to take the upfront money, and the Red Sox got lucky. That's what some people will say. I disagree. What's happening with Roman Anthony is what's going to happen with any premier young player in the game. That player needs to decide whether he's going to wait to go year to year and wait to hit free agency in 6 years, or if he's going to take some upfront money and leave maybe some money on the table. That is a calculation not unique to the Red Sox, not unique to Roman Anthony. It exists across baseball. And what the Red Sox did is they were willing to pay enough up front to the point where Anthony was willing to sign. That's the story here. I'm sorry, though, the Red Sox deserve credit for getting to that point, for getting close enough, for making it tempting enough for Anthony to say, you know what? I'm going to take the money now. Roman Anthony was asked a few minutes ago at Fenway Park about this calculation and why he took this contract. Understanding that maybe he's leaving some money on the table, here was his response.
In these early career deals and the kind of thinking and math that goes behind them, the guarantee up front versus maybe sacrificing some potential earning power once you would have reached free agency. How did you kind of balance those and ultimately come to make the decision of, yes, this is the deal you want?
Yeah, I wanted to be here. It was simple as that. I wanted to be in Boston. Winning in Boston is different, and I haven't won anything yet, but for me, like, over these last 2 months, the baseball we're playing, the fans, the way they show up every night, it's amazing. It's a place like no other, and for me it was simple. I just wanted to be here. I wanted to play baseball in Boston for a long time.
Jimmy, do you believe that? Do you believe that that's the primary reason Anthony decided to sign this contract now? Is simply put, he wanted to be here in Boston?
Yes, because he's a visionary and a revolutionary, and he's an oracle. And I believe that I actually do think that coming up through the system, getting his money early, I think those things are important to Roman Anthony, and I think that's why he did it.
Okay. I think it's a small factor. Now, he's going to say it's the real factor, but he's never going to come out and say, well, the real reason is the calculation was made that maybe I was leaving a little bit of money on the table, but it was close enough that it's worth the guarantee. It's worth the guaranteed $130 million up front. And that's the calculation that always exists. The team needs to get close enough so the player says, all right, am I leaving a little bit of money on the table? Yes, but I'm going to take the security and I'm going to take the guarantee up front. That's a negotiation. The Red Sox deserve credit for getting as close as they needed to get for Anthony to say, you know what, maybe I will leave a little bit of money on the table. So here are the details. It's $130 million guaranteed up front, starting next year. 8 years, $130 million guaranteed. The contract goes through 2033. There is a $30 million team option for 2034. And then there are $70 million after that, the way I read this, in incentives. So the way this deal was reported is that it was $130 million guaranteed with, escalators essentially up to $230 million. $30 million of that is in the form of a team option in 2034. So the Red Sox, if Anthony's still an impact player entering his year 30 season, they can just guaranteed $30 million. There you go. You keep him in Boston for an extra year, which is a great part of this deal for the Red Sox. It's the best part of the deal. The number of free agent years they were able to buy out of Anthony, it is the best part of the deal for the Sox. Anthony also can get $70 million in incentives. You'd get a real popsicle headache going through them. Here's basically all you need to know about it. Those incentives are tied into MVP votes and all-star selections, and that can add on to his what is essentially a guaranteed $16.5 million every year. So, yeah, it's 8 years, 16 and change per year, 130 million, probably about 160 million guaranteed, assuming unless he's a complete bust. And you go from there. He's not going to get 230 million out of this deal. The 230 is fake money, but let's not also act like he left hundreds of millions of dollars on the table. He didn't. You know why? Because he's going to hit free agency again at the age of 31. He's getting upfront money now, and he still will be young enough to get a big-time second contract. This works for the Red Sox. It works for Anthony. And the Red Sox deserve credit for making that deal happen. If they had offered him the Christian Campbell deal, he's not taking it. They gave him $130 million up front, and 3 of those years he was going to get paid pennies, make a couple $1,000,000, and that's it. So you can understand why maybe he'd want to do that right now. And the Red Sox understood that they could get this done. And the second thing I'll give the Red Sox credit for is they are putting their money where their mouth is when it comes to their young players. They've been telling us for years now, and by the way, I doubted this. Hand up, I doubted this. They've been telling us for years now that we'll spend money when our young players get here, and that the young players are everything. They've actually done their part to ensure that this young core is going to stay together. Now we'll find out if they can win. Now we'll find out if it's worth it, if they've made the right evaluations on these players. But they are making a bet on these young players, and this has been their approach. They've paid Anthony. They've paid Rafaela. They've paid Bayo. They paid Christian Campbell. On top of it all, they traded for Garrett Crochet, who's still young, gave him $180 million when the guy's basically never pitched before. That looks like a real win. The Red Sox are paying their young core. And I think it's fair to give them credit for that. I know a lot of people want to say the Red Sox are cheap. And it's easy to make that argument coming off of the Rafael Devers trade, where obviously getting out of that contract was the number one goal in that deal. But if the Red Sox want to say they're sensitive to the idea that they're cheap, they can point to the fact that they are consistently paying these young players. Sam Kennedy was asked about this, keeping this young core intact. Here's what he had to say.
You guys have been aggressive with extensions in the last few years. Is that based on experience in the past? You know, that you've had some star players who have left, others who have stayed. Kind of what's led to this aggression?
Well, there's a baseball operations project that's underway that we're really grateful that Craig Breslow decided to take on just a few short years ago. We're not done yet, but it's heading in the right direction, and signing our homegrown, young, talented guys is a huge part of that. That's been the key piece of having success in our time here is locking up our homegrown talent who want to be here. And you just heard Roman Anthony. I mean, what more could you want in a player in Boston, someone who wants to be here above all else? So, and yes, in the past when we haven't signed homegrown players, it's hurt, and when we haven't found a way to a deal. So thanks to Brez for being so aggressive. He's had a very aggressive last couple months, and we're grateful for his efforts and everyone in baseball ops.
I'll give Sam some credit for this. He just tacitly acknowledged they screwed up the Mookie Betts thing. They did. They'll never live that down, but they did not make the same mistake here because they were able to get a deal done. He's also not wrong in saying that in the past when they've been successful, they've locked up their young players. That is something Theo Epstein did consistently. You know, Theo came in and it was, obviously big money free agents and big trades that he made. And then when Theo developed the farm system, the Lesters of the world, coming up, the Pedroias of the world, the Red Sox locked up the vast majority of those guys. Not all of them, but the vast majority of them to what ended up being good, generally team-friendly contracts because they were aggressive early and they gave money up front early. That's
until
smart.
The back end of the trades. The signings. The back end of the signings is what gave everybody problems. And that's why the Red Sox don't mind giving out an 8-9 year contract to a 21-year-old because it's the age 20 seasons. Mm-hmm. Anything after 30, 31, 32, they want to go more year to year because the David Price deal failed. The Chris Sale deal deal failed. The Pedroia, the back end of that contract failed. Adrian Gonzalez had to be shipped out. All of the after 30 parts of these Red Sox contracts are all failures, and that's why it's year to year with Bregman, although let's see what happens in the offseason, because Bregman's going to opt out, and then you're going to see what the extension looks like.
So, Jimmy, I think it's a good point, is, they've been burned many times signing older
The Devers
players. Contract,
it was Devers age 25 season, 26 season, so 10 years get you through 36, and then you realize that, I don't like this deal, let's move on from it.
It's not a bad business model. It's not.
I bet if we look through the history of Red Sox big-time contracts, the back end of them was the failures, and that was after age 31 or 32.
Yeah, I bet if you looked around baseball, the vast majority of those contracts would be failures. Generally, teams generally don't regret deals like this. So if you want to say that this is the business model and this is the way you want to approach it, that's fine. Don't call them cheap. They're not cheap in this sense. Are they
risk averse?
Risk averse is the better term. Because to be totally honest, there isn't as much risk with signing Roman Anthony now compared to signing Roman Anthony when he's 27 or 28. If it doesn't work out, it's $130 million. You paid Trevor Story $140 million, and you didn't get anything out of him for 3.5 years. And yes, I will now acknowledge to you, Jared Carabas, that he is my shortstop.
But I think, Matt, the point here is that they are okay with extending. And in a worst case scenario, if Campbell is a failure, it's $10 million. It doesn't mean anything. Patrick Sandoval, the left-handed pitcher who's on rehab, $10 million lost for a year. James Paxton, $10 million lost for a year. Liam Hendricks, $5 million lost for the year. Those types of deals, they're okay with missing on. It's the $25-30 million deal for the 30-year-old with 4 years left on it. That's the deal that they don't want to sign.
Well, if they don't want to sign that, then you better be really successful in this model.
Rusney Castillo?
Not great. Not great. You better be successful in doing this. Now they have an opportunity to prove that they're successful doing this. This is obviously the approach. They're going to sign these young players. They want to develop them. They do want to pay them up front. Okay, now you need to win doing this. That's the next step. Let's not say today was a bad day for the Red Sox. Today was a good day for the Red Sox. 617-779-0985. Roman Anthony sticking around for the next 8 years. Your thoughts, we continue. It's McCarthy in for Maz on the Baseball Hour.
The Baseball Hour.
out 3 or 4 years of free agency, that just tells you what they are. They're a bunch of cheap pricks now. That's what they are. That's what John Henry is. He's a cheap prick. He doesn't want to invest in real players. He is afraid. He is afraid of Roman Anthony turning into the player that a lot of people believe he will be and then having to pay him. The same way he was afraid of continuing to pay Rafi Devers for his bat. So that's what they do. Now this is what they do. They sign Bayo. They go ahead and sign Christian Campbell, who's nowhere to be found. We may never see him again.
Rafaela.
Those two extensions are major hits, though, in Rafaela and Bayo. The only one you can complain about is Christian Campbell right now.
Milliken.
Yes,
they're not even playing on the extension in the sense that they were still under team control right now.
Still, we're not even in terms of AAV and to get a couple more years of free agency for them to show they're capable of being those players. Brian Bayo, a guy who's shown up and been your number 2, number 3 starter. Ceddanne Rafaela, who's been one of the 4 or 5 most important players on the team.
Hey, Milliken, you understand that all the players you're naming would still be here on cheap deals, team control, right?
But you bet on them becoming the players they are becoming in front of you. And
only to save money. Only to save money. That's why they're doing it.
You spend later. I'd rather do that and get
there it is.
Trust your imagination.
Milliken,
you should be able to spend it.
I love you, but you're a dope.
They're $10 million over the luxury tax, Beetle.
You believe that? Now. You said it. Thank you for doing it for me. I don't even have to keep talking. You said it. They're going to spend later. That's what stupid fans say about their team.
Over the luxury tax. Right now, they are spending.
I will not tolerate that. Beetle, you stay away from my Milliken. Don't you do that. No. Bad Beetle. Bad Beetle. I could have driven in here and kissed Milliken on the lips when he said all of that. Tyler Milliken, 1. Mark Bertrand, 0. It is smart for the Red Sox to sign Roman Anthony. It is smart for the Red Sox to sign Ceddanne Rafaela, to sign Brian Bayo, even to sign Christian Campbell. If it doesn't work out, it's $10 million a year. So what? You want to say it's smarter and better business and better for your team to pay guys in their 20s than their 30s? That's fine. You just better have players that are capable of playing in their 20s. Sure. Fine. That's what they've done. And I'm starting to wonder if it's going to work. They're playing better baseball. The American League is wide open. Roman Anthony has come up and is a stud. I think we can all agree about that. He has MVP caliber stuff. MVP caliber talent. And you sign him and you buy out 4 years of his free agency and all of a sudden that's a bad thing? Come on, Beetle. Come on. Oh, we're only doing this because we're cheap? No, they're not cheap. It's a business model. If you say you've got a problem with the business model, that's fine. I do think it's a little disingenuous at this point to call the Red Sox cheap. The fact of the matter is this, Milliken's right. The Red Sox are a luxury tax team. Now, do I want the Red Sox to spend more money relative to the rest of the league? Yes, of course I do. And it's Matt McCarthy in for Maz tonight. That being said, they're a luxury tax paying team this year. They were a luxury tax paying team in 2022. They have essentially spent, since 2020, $240 million or more on this team every year. That should be good enough to make the playoffs, and it hasn't been. So the whole ownership is cheap thing is misguided a little bit. They're risk averse, as Jimmy Stewart just said. Calling the Red Sox cheap in 2025 probably is not fair. What they are is analytical. And they have a model that tells you what a player's worth is, and they do not stray from that model no matter what, because they're obsessed with efficiency. Now, that's a problem. What they are is not human. That's an issue. They don't let the human element ever factor in decisions, which I think is a real problem and holds them back. But it's very simple for the Red Sox. If the model says pay the player, they pay the player. They do. The model says pay Roman Anthony. I can understand why the model says it. Pay him $130 million guaranteed. The escalators in there can take it up to $230 million if he turns into an MVP quality player and is finishing, top 3, top 2, top 1 in MVP voting year after year after year. Yeah, then it goes up to closer to $230 million, and then the model says this player's worth that. If the model says don't pay the player, they don't. And sometimes the model gets it wrong. The model got it wrong on Mookie Betts. The model has gotten it wrong many times because they're not aggressive enough to improve their team in the present, and that's where the issue comes in. But you go back to the Rafael Devers trade, and there were a number of factors that led to that deal, and I think we all understand it, and I think we should criticize the Red Sox for trading Devers solely for the purpose of getting out from under the contract. But Jeff Passan told you the day after that deal went down, in the the article that Passan wrote, which was undeniably kind of the article of record, the column of record, the report of record on why the Devers deal happened, Passan told you that the Red Sox computer model says the contract was underwater. And that's why they didn't want him. The clubhouse stuff was a factor, but I guarantee you, if the computer said the contract was good value, they would have kept Devers. So that's the issue. It's the analytical approach, it's the modeling, it's not bringing enough human element and human decisions and human factors into signing players. I get that, I understand that. You want to say they're too analytical? You're right. You want to say they're risk averse? You're right. You want to say they don't spend as much as they should in comparison to the rest of the league? You're right. But don't say they're cheap when they just handed out $130 million to a guy who's played half a month. I mean, a month and a half in the big leagues or whatever it comes down to. They spend their money differently. It's not like they don't spend it. Now, I might disagree with the way they spend their money, and there have been a lot of times that I've disagreed with the Red Sox in the way they're spending their money. But they're a luxury tax team this year. So let's not act like they don't spend. Sometimes they choose not to, and I've got a problem with the reasoning as to why they choose not to. But I do think the Red Sox have a right to be a little upset, as Maz would say, sensitive to the idea that they don't spend money. But you can hear that from Maz, who's bought and paid for by John Henry. I am not bought and paid for. And trust me when I say I can be, for an extremely low price for anybody over on Jersey Street.
Well, they didn't meet that price the last time they asked you.
You never know. You can always ask more. You can always ask for more, which is what Roman Anthony did. He asked for more. They talked in spring training. It didn't work. They made it happen here, and it's a good day to be a Red Sox fan if you're asking me. 617-779-0985. How about Sean in Colorado to lead us off tonight on the Baseball Hour?
First off, everybody on that morning show outside of Milliken absolutely needs the old Section 10 suspension. I don't ever want to hear them talk baseball again. That was so idiotic. But is it wrong to want to save money through these young contracts? I mean, I get excited personally when gas prices drop. Maybe I can go get an ice cream then. Same thing applies to baseball salaries, right? Now they have saved money through buying cheap, buying a sale, if you want to say, trusting their models and buying out Roman Anthony early. That gives them the financial flexibility to invest or overspend when the time comes and the time is exactly right and they need to buy that pitcher for $50 million on a 2-year deal, whatever it may be.
So my concern would be, Sean, let's not go too far on that. My concern would be that they don't do it in that moment. And that's what I'll criticize them for. But criticizing the Red Sox for signing Roman Anthony now, like, get out of here. Give me a break with that. Let's be real. Live in the real world. They bought out essentially 4 years of his free agency. Who wouldn't do that? But it's bad because they're cheap? No. Criticize them, to your point, Sean, if they don't go out and spend money on a second starter after Garrett Crochet. That's where you should criticize them. Don't criticize them for signing Roman Anthony. Come on. How about James in Connecticut? Hey, James.
So, can you guys explain to me how when we have the option between Max Fried, who we could pay $225 million and who's been there, done that as a starter, versus Walker Buehler, don't get me wrong, love the guy, wanted him here, for $21 million after he's come off 2 Tommy John surgeries. And one guy seems to be doing okay for the Yankees. Meanwhile, the other guy isn't in the rotation for the Red Sox. How the Red Sox exactly are, quote-unquote, risk-averse.
Okay, James, those are 2 different scenarios. They did not sign Max Fried, and I criticized them for not signing Max Fried. I wanted them to sign Max Fried. I wanted them to spend on Max Fried. What did they do a day and a half after Max Fried signed with the Yankees? They traded for Garrett Crochet, and they paid $180 million to him. So the Buehler thing and the Fried thing, those are 2 separate topics. John in the car. Hey, John. Oh, John.
Yeah, hey.
Hi.
Yeah, I think they're cheap. I mean, they're number 5 in revenue and number 13 in payroll in the league. They just let their best home run hitter walk for basically to save money. I think they're a cheap team. I'm glad they signed Roman Anthony. That's good. I want more of that.
Okay. Yeah, well, you have gotten a lot of that. They've signed Anthony. They've signed Rafaela. They've signed Bayo. They signed Garrett Crochet to a $180 million contract when the guy has basically never pitched before. What they're telling you is we will spend money in a certain way. Like, I'm sorry, after this offseason, where they sign Alex Bregman to $40 million a year, Garrett Crochet, who's basically never pitched before, to a 6-year, $180 million extension, they just gave $130 million to Roman Anthony when the guy's never played before. See, again, calling them cheap is unfair. You can say they're spending money in a way that you don't like because you want them to spend money on older players, guys who you know are proven. Like, that's fine. That's fair. You want to approach it in that regard? Totally understand you on that. They're just spending money in a different way. Now, we can debate as to whether that's the right approach, and this approach is not proven yet. It's not. We don't know if this core is going to ever win anything. So we might be sitting here in 3 years saying, you know what? They did get good performances out of Anthony and Rafaela and Bayo, and maybe Christian Campbell turns into a good player. And wow, they're paying for present performance now, and the value matches up with the player. That might be all fine and good, and they might not win. Because the thing about young players is it's going to take them a while to learn how to win. That would be my biggest concern with this. My biggest concern is not whether Roman Anthony can play or not. I think he can play or not. I'm willing to make that bet. The Red Sox are willing to make that bet. The Red Sox are willing to make a bet that the majority of these young players can play, and they're willing to pay them. Because, again, they believe the modeling that we're better off paying a player in his 20s than paying a player in his 30s. You're probably right about that. I understand that logic. It makes sense to me. When you sign a player at the age of 30 or 31, you are almost always paying for past performance. Frankly, they're probably paying for past performance on Bregman. If they didn't get Bregman on this year-to-year deal, Bregman wanted 6 or 7 years. If you go out and sign Alex Bregman for 6 or 7 years, the back end of that contract, I guarantee you, is going to be bad. Here's the thing, though. Here's the calculation, and I'm not quite sure the Red Sox place enough emphasis on this. Alex Bregman at the age of 30 has been there, done that, knows how to win. Roman Anthony at the age of 21 is on the verge of being a great player. But how long is it going to take for him and the rest of this core to learn how to win? So the next step for the Red Sox is finding a way to supplement these guys with the Alex Bregmans of the world, who will be an overpay eventually. No doubt about it. I'm cautiously optimistic that the Bregman signing shows that they are willing to say, all right, and we need this piece, so we need to overpay for this piece, which is what Sean in Colorado was just saying a few minutes ago. I don't want to go there and say I believe it because, again, do you really want to believe the Red Sox, again, a team who traded Rafael Devers simply for the money? So I get that. There are still reasons for concern. But signing Roman Anthony now? Come on. It's not a bad move. Let's call it what it is. Doesn't make them perfect. They're far from it. But today's a good day to be a Red Sox fan. 617-779-0985. Kevin Majori, I do believe, has our sports...
7. Red Sox take the lead to the bottom of the inning.
Felt really good. Figured that was my last hitter as well, even with the lefty coming up, just where my pitch count was kind of getting to. He battled pretty hard the at-bat prior, and then I kind of gave in and had to throw a cutter in zone and left it out over. So for that at-bat, I felt like I was, fairly in control, and I just didn't want to give up the lead again. I had already given up one that inning, so it shortened the lead pretty quickly. But for me, it was, I just wanted that strikeout pretty bad.
It's Garrett Crochet, who is a stud's stud. That guy is box office, man. He's box office. Must-watch TV. That's an ace. And he's the number one reason why it's different this year than it was last year. I'm not saying they're going to win the World Series, but as far as the second half of the season post-trading deadline, where, again, the Red Sox did nothing, I think they hurt the team. They probably hurt their chances at the deadline by not adding significantly to the team. And Dustin May pitches tonight, but Dustin May's Walker Buehler 2.0. Once the Dodgers say we don't want you, you probably should say we don't want you either. But Garrett Crochet is the number one reason why you should believe in the Red Sox right now, because every time he takes the ball, it feels like they're going to win, which is something they have not had in a long time. Let's keep in mind the Red Sox signed him to a 6-year, $180 million contract extension, which is a lot of money for a guy who's never pitched before. But the Red Sox are making a bet on that because that's the business model. How can you necessarily call the Red Sox cheap? I think it's a little disingenuous to call the Red Sox cheap when they pay $180 million to a guy who's basically had 1 year as a starter, a half year as a starter. Well, the answer is their model says, let's pay for him now. Let's pay up front now. Let's get the most of him in his mid-20s. And by the time he's 30, we can reevaluate things. That's the way they're approaching it. Does not mean that that's a perfect plan. As we've outlined tonight, I think there are flaws in that plan, because if your whole plan is we're going to win with a bunch of guys in their 20s and we're going to pay for them and we're going to pay for their performance now, and it's Roman Anthony and Garrett Crochet and it's Bayo and Rafaela and Campbell, and that's how we're doing it. Maybe they'll pay Meyer someday if he can ever get back on the field and stay healthy. You can understand why the model says that's good. I do think there are some limitations in real life because players in their mid-20s haven't learned how to win yet. Some of them might have the makeup to do it. Garrett Crochet has the makeup to do it. I think Roman Anthony has the makeup to do it. Those are two guys who don't look fazed by anything. Anything. Based on, really, the little we've seen of both of them this year. That's my take, though. That's the reaction. That's how you feel about them, watching them, even in what is ultimately kind of a short sample size for both. There's a reason to believe in them. But I don't know if that thing truly works if that's all you're going to do. That would be my concern with that. The question is, how do we reconcile the good stuff the Red Sox have done with the bad stuff? Because for all their mismanagement of, say, the trading deadline or the Devers trade or their approach for a number of years waiting for these young players to come up, they have certainly pissed off and alienated fans, understandably so. There have been a lot of really bad moments. Hell, there was a really bad moment less than a week ago because the general manager had no idea how to work with other general managers to get a deal done. Everybody else improved, and you were sitting there holding the bag with nothing to show for it. So there have been ups and downs. There are issues with this team. It's not perfect. But on a day where it's good, I think we should call it out for being good. And this is a really good day, if you ask me as a Red Sox fan. 617-779-0985. How about Joe in Lincoln? Hey, Joe.
Yeah, man, I got to tell you, listening to sports talk radio for the past few days when the Red Sox are playing, as well as they're playing, when the young guys, it's half young guys at least on the team, they're playing phenomenal baseball. And we don't even know whether these new pitchers that Breslow's got are really going to stink or not. I mean, they could do well. Shouldn't everybody be pretty much celebrating? And instead, I guess there was minutia, this discussion about the Patriots and also, the Red Sox cheating us, just stupid stuff. They're doing really well.
Okay, they are doing really well, but those things exist too. Like, here's my attitude, Joe. We should talk about whether the Red Sox are stealing signs. It's happened 5 times this year. That's a story. Let's talk about it. We should talk about the Red Sox screwing up at the trading deadline because they did. We should talk about, if Dustin May gets his face kicked in tonight, we should talk about that. The same way that we should talk about it if he goes out there, he shoves, he looks like the Dustin May from, 2019, and you say, okay, all right, well, and he looks different with the Red Sox pitching program and all of that. We should talk about that. If they sign Roman Anthony to an 8-year contract extension, when it's obviously undeniably a good thing, we should come in and say it's a good thing. The good with the bad. Let's talk about the bad. Let's talk about the good. And today, undeniably, was a good day for the Red Sox. Undeniably. And I fully reject the notion that this is in some way a bad thing. It's a bad sign. Oh, they got lucky. They got fortunate that Anthony was willing to take that contract. No, they didn't. It's human nature. You're offering him upfront money now. You got far enough to say, okay, maybe I'm leaving a little bit of money on the table, but I'm not leaving hundreds of millions on the table because of the escalators. I mean, the guy has an opportunity to earn, let's be honest, not up to $230 million, but maybe close to $200 million over the course of the next 8 to 9 years. I mean, would he have been worth $250? Maybe. Okay, maybe. But he took the upfront money now, and he's going to hit free agency when he's 31. It makes sense for the team. It makes sense for the player. Let's call it out for what it is. Saying that they signed Roman Anthony and saved 3 or 4 years of free agency is a bad thing? Come on. Let's be real about it. Jake in Rhode Island. Hey, Jake.
Hey, what's going on, man? Hey, listen, I think it's pretty clear. I think it's pretty clear what the Red Sox are trying to do. They sign young players to large extensions in hopes that they won't become something that's too expensive for them to want to pay. And I think, honestly, I really do think that, and I might sound like a stupid Red Sox fan, but I do think that someone like Alex Bregman is like a bridge player, and that they're going to be willing to pay more bridge players like that to come in here and be a player coach for the team.
I hope so, because that's the next step. If you want to say your plan is let's pay players before their market value gets out of control, and then we have to pay them when they're 29 and pay them into their 30s, and that's bad business, and we're not going to get the same player, and we're going to pay essentially, we're going to make a bet on the contract that it's going to be worth it for us in their 20s. Okay, totally fine. I understand the logic behind that. You have to support that with veteran players. You can't just fully disregard the idea of signing a veteran player to a long-term contract extension because somebody like Alex Bregman is going to be critical for this team in the next few years. As these young players are developing, as they're playing important baseball games, if you sign Alex Bregman this offseason, you will be overpaying for Alex Bregman. But at that point in time, it will make a lot of sense. Young team, young players, learning how to win. You need guys like Bregman and more to support that. So the spending can't stop here. And that's the question that we don't have with the Red Sox. They're spending on these young players. Let's give them credit for that. They're going to have to supplement that by spending here and there on veteran players. Bregman's the perfect example of a guy who can make a difference. We'll see if they pay him. And if they don't, I'll come in and criticize them for that because I believe in that. Jimmy, I am nothing if but consistent, right?
You're fair.
I try to be.
You're firm but fair.
Today was a good day, and I'm firm in saying it's a good day. I will yell at you. It was a good day for the Red Sox! You idiots!
Yell at Beetle.
Beetle! It's a good day! Don't be disingenuous. Milliken owned you. Owned you, Team Milliken, all day. God bless you, Milliken. Milliken's back on Friday with Maz, right?
No, there's a Patriots game.
That's right, there is. I believe Tyler Milliken is hosting this program a couple days next week.
Tuesday and Wednesday, and it's Carabas Day one of those 2 days, so it's a Section 10 takeover of the Baseball Hour.
Can't wait for that.
And they just announced Section 10 night for September 17th.
We look forward to it. Jimmy Stewart, Kevin Majori, thanks for the help tonight. I'm Matt McCarthy. Joe Murray's up next. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Now is the time to go solar. Tax credits are set to expire in 2020.